I am Choseneyes, also known by my government stripper name of Dr. Leah Brockwhite. I am the intersection between magic and medicine, and my job is to teach the next generation of unlikely healers such as myself. You can find me at Choseneyes9 on Instagram and most other platforms, or choseneyes.com, and links in bios and all the things. I'm here in Austin, Texas, have residencies in several places, just got a new office space this year. I teach intro to tarot, intro to wellness, intro to magical ethics, a lot of foundational courses. But my job is for you to not need me, but to give you a spiritual foundation that is transferable to just about any other spiritual path that you feel that you need to expound upon.
Yes, I love that. Okay. I want you to hold on to that because that's the first thing that I want to get into. But hi, you guys. Welcome to Enlightened Investments. We have Miss Choseneyes here. Some may call her Dr. Leah. I don't know what she prefers. I feel like either is fine or just Leah might be okay.
Choseneyes feels safer.
Choseneyes is safer. Okay. And again, you guys can find her at Choseneyes9 on most platforms. That's what I know her as. Also on Instagram. What's your other platform? Dr. L
means well.
Dr. L means well. How I was introduced to her was first I saw her doing tarot at a market that I used to do. I probably was the Melanated Marketplace. I saw her doing tarot at a market that I used to do. And then I looked her up on Instagram and I don't know, the vibe was giving vibes. So I tapped in and then she reached out to me to do a project with her. And then from there, I was like, I knew I was meant to connect with her and and it just went from there. So I'm happy to have her today because we always have such great conversation. And I just feel like this is going to be a great interview. So let's go back to the last part of what you said in your intro. You said, I don't want you to need me. I want you to have a strong spiritual foundation for yourself. That is something that I am constantly finding myself preaching and trying to teach and like pushing and pushing and pushing. And I get so frustrated because, I'm only 32 and I've already been doing this work for at least 10 years, full time for the last 4 years. And so I just have a level of awareness that a lot of people my age or even like a little bit older than me just don't have. And they want to be pacified. They want to be coddled. They want somebody to hold their hand and string them along. I'm not going to do it because it's not good for you and it's not good for me. I want you to talk about that and just speak to how unhealthy and codependent that is, not only because of just the energetic exchange of it, but because of the purpose of your spiritual journey, which is self-awareness and evolution. You can't do that if you're constantly seeking to someone else.
That's so true. And I'm really happy that we're starting here because that was something that I noticed during the pandemic that was really a thing. For a variety of reasons. It was a scary time. People needed guidance. People needed something or someone to hold on to or to cling to. That seemed, that's when expert culture just really exploded, right? You hear Dr. Leah or Dr. L. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and Eastern medicine, for those of you who are wondering what the doctorate is in. But I'm a professional psychic medium who happens to be a doctor. And I lead with that now. It took me a while to feel confident enough to say that, but I lead with that now because the medicine helps with giving the foundation to explain to people who need that linear way of thinking. But the spiritual is what always leads me. Codependency exists in spirituality and in medicine. It is one of the reasons why I have not decided to start a brick and mortar practice, because I noticed during my training that by the time people made it to me, to holistic medicine, they were looking for a savior. And I'm gonna tell y'all straight up, with respect to anyone's spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs, no one is going to come out and save you but yourself. There is no person in flesh that has a magic needle, a magic herb, a magic tarot card, a magic oracle card, a magic pendulum, a magical gemstone, magic anything that is going to save you other than the number one seed that you have, and that's this right here. And this right here. These, not my glasses, right? Not my glasses, human moment, right? But that's what's going to save you. It starts up here, right? Your perception of who you are, your understanding of who you are not, right? I just turned 40 this year, and I'm here to tell you, I'm cool that I am no longer the person that I was at 32, 33. There are still core principles and values, right?
But it changes.
I have shed so much dead weight, and it's because I had to stop waiting for a savior, for somebody to tell me who or what I was spiritually, to validate those things. When you do that, you diminish your own voice, and you're spiritually gaslighting yourself and allowing yourself to enter into dangerous territory, almost cult-like territory.
Yes.
Because you're allowing somebody else to skew your vision and your understanding of who you are, or to come in and curtail, I guess you would say, they can impede your own progress if you are already on that path, and then detour you or derail you in a way that completely takes you off center. So here's an example of that. You often hear people say your purpose is not something that you come into, or your purpose is not something that you find, it's something that just like kind of lands in your lap or like smacks you in the head. And it's usually something that terrifies you, right? You're like, what? That's mine? Me? Huh? That happens. But then we get so caught up in needing to navigate a society that does not care about purpose, that doesn't care about spiritual growth, that does not care about rest, that does not care about bonding, that doesn't care about intimacy. It cares about function. It cares about analysis. It cares about production. It cares about principles. Right? Very masculine, but not just masculine, toxic masculine principles. Because there's a lot of healthy masculine principles, right?
All of that is healthy in moderation,
right? Because there's some toxic feminine principles if we're gonna keep this 100, right? Concealment can be toxic, right? Sensuality can be toxic if you're overdosing on it, right? And so when it comes to not wanting to be needed, my job is to reflect to you where you are right now, and to be honest enough with you to help you walk through your own hell so you can actually navigate yourself.
Yes.
So you can transform, because I'm not transforming you, you're transforming you. I'm just honest enough to tell you, like, this is what you say you're trying to do. Yeah, nah, homie, that's not what you reflecting out here. This is what you giving. This is what you're giving. So if you ever get a reading with me, you'll see on my website, it says I am compassionate, but in all caps, but honest.
It does say that on her website.
I gave y'all the disclaimer. But anybody, and even people who have like literally told me to my face, you're crazy, I can't believe I paid this money in order to have a reading with you. I literally had a woman 3 weeks ago reach out to me and say, I got a reading with you 5 years ago, and I thought you were the meanest person I've ever met. She goes, and I'm so grateful to you now because, and she started hitting these bullet points. Not most readers, just so y'all know, don't remember what we tell y'all because it's not for us to hold on to.
No,
we're literally just channeling and letting things flow. So if you tell me something 5 or 10 minutes later, I'll be like, what are you talking about? But I'm just putting that out. Anyway, she hit these bullet points and I was just like, wow. But it was a testament to, I gave her the information and let her do with it as she will. All we can do as teachers, as guides, as mentors, is help you to see what you are putting out there and help you have the tools to be able to transmute that in some way, shape, or form, if that's what you're interested in doing. Because a lot of codependency in this line of work comes from people who are not interested in doing the transformation. What they want is for you to fix something that they're not willing to fix. It's a little laziness, if we're going to be honest.
That's impossible though. And that's the whole point. That's impossible. I can't fix something in you that you are not willing to fix in yourself. That's the whole point. And you're absolutely right in everything that you're saying, because I swear, like, I find myself having these conversations all the time. And people, they'll say, like, I can't believe I just paid you to talk to me like that. Like, you're so mean. Like, how could you be so blunt like that, cut and dry? And I'm just like, I don't know what you want from me. Like, you paid me so I can tell you what's up. This is what's up. And they'll be mad about it, but then they come back in however much time it takes for those things to come through. And they'll be like, okay, you were right. And, I changed this and this happened. And, you maybe see this. And I don't want to hear it at the time, but now I see. And I'm like, okay. Okay.
Right.
Like, I'm glad we have that breakthrough. But that's what it's about. Like that is the journey. So the minute that you take yourself out of the position of control over yourself and your own decisions, is you're setting yourself up for failure every time. And as readers, especially when you have someone who's a clairvoyant, who's a channeler, who's clairaudient, like, doing tarot is one thing, but some people just do tarot based on definition. It's different when there's a channeling aspect to it. It's very different. So it takes a lot of energy, and you can't just be wanting like a pill. You can't just use it as a pill. You just can't. No. It's not what it is. It's just not. No. And you can't know everything. If you know everything, then what are you even living for? You might as well just forget about it. If you know the whole story, then why do you even wake up the next day? Like, forget about it. So just stop trying to know everything too. But going back into what you were saying, I want you to tell me what you think about this, because this is just a theory that I've been considering and not a lot of people really know what I'm talking about when I bring this up. But Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Mm-hmm. So like on the surface level, it makes sense because it's like kind of in alignment with the chakras in a way. Right. But I've always felt that things are only that way because we made them that way. In reality, all of that it's backwards. I feel like it should be the other way around, because you can't really do anything until you get to the top of the pyramid anyway, and you go through that self-actualization. But if the society that you live in is so hell-bent on keeping you at the bottom of that pyramid in those like root chakra safety and security type of mindset, like, how do you even escape that? So why is it not why, because you wouldn't know why, I'm sure you wonder this too, but like like, what do you think about reteaching that aspect of energy?
It's funny that you mentioned it, because this actually goes into the fact that I'm raising a tween, and he has taught me so much in the last 6 months. So he just started middle school. Actually didn't start, but finished his first year of middle school. Mm-hmm. And then watching him traverse middle school, there are two things that he taught me. One, can I curse on here?
You can curse.
How to fucking unplug. And you've met him, right? So he's a fellow Aquarian like me. But if that kid says I'm at capacity, he means I'm at capacity, and there's nothing you can do to shift him out of that. He is like, I'm at capacity, blanket on the couch, taking a nap, or unplugging, doing something else. He has taught me that fuck this, I'm out is healthy. Mm-hmm. And that it brings security, because you're not looking for security externally. You're looking for internal security and validation on like, nope, what's going to make me feel supported in this moment? Yep, I'm going to give it to myself. I'm not going to wait for somebody else to tell me that I can take a break. I'm taking a break, right? Rest is resistance. the other part, so to that point, actually, and the other part of that is the way that that's currently taught is a form of control. Because we starting at the base saying that the external world is what's going to make sure that you are able, the exterior world is going to be what gives you your security, your safety, the things that you need to feel rooted, money, material
Right.
stuff, right? Then they could control you with a carrot that's constantly dangled in front of you. But what if all you needed in this world was to be present and to show up? To respect. What if all you needed in this world was to finally show respect to your body that, yeah, you're not a size 2 anymore, you're a size 12. Okay. A little bit more fabric. Who cares? Right? What if all you, which is something I honestly had to tell myself over the last like 2 years. Like, okay, a little bit more fabric. Who cares? Who's gonna know? Ain't nobody reading the tag.
Nobody's worried about
Ain't nobody worried about that but you. Go, come on. Right. What happens when you no longer have to report to a 9 to 5, but you actually have to be present to the people in your household? It's a different level of accountability, right? Because now the carrot that's being dangled is choice. And right now we're told that we have choice and agency, but do we really?
No,
It's a series of non-choices.
Right. And it's because of this. I feel like it all stems from this. And that's why I'm asking you this question, because it's very Saturn like. It's very Saturn like the way that it's set up. Like it's like sickening. Like I don't understand like who sat down and decided that this is the way that we were going to be taught about energy, because it makes no sense. Even when I think about the tree of life and the order of the tree of life, it seems upside down to me. Like is it just me?
No, because it's not set up with fluidity. It's set up in a very concrete structure that's so rigid that it doesn't realize that it implodes upon itself. Because what happens when people really start to move on Maslow's chain, like first this like a check box, right? And then you finally go through these things and then you get to the end and it's just like, it lacks luster. It's like, this is it. Because you're focused on going through as opposed to being present.
Right, but if you would start at the top, then you would start with being present in everything.
Exactly.
Allow and align versus.
And then you would flow downward. Exactly.
That just makes I just took a deep breath when I said that, because it just makes so much more sense to me. Like it just feels like. Even when I
have to start this back up. I've been traveling. But when I was doing my series Breathe With Me and I was teaching people the microcosmic orbit, right? There's a specific way that flows. But I always try, and my teacher taught me this. He was like, you're the divine Capricorn, ironically. He's like, you're the divine feminine. So you're always going to be more in touch with the cosmos than I ever will be. Which, shout out to Lauren Johnson. I was like, come through. But the other part too was that he was just like, always trust the Tao. And when that means if you're, instead of like following the precise rubric or the precise checklist on how to do it, if you're feeling like you need to reverse the orbit, reverse the orbit. If your pearl is telling you that you need to flow in a particular way, do that. I think that, so to that point, I think that sometimes if there's a point where, yeah, you need to start from the bottom up, but then sometimes there is a time where you got to go in the opposite direction, or maybe not even in a conventional direction with certain things. I think that we have a tendency to not allow ourselves. I think we focus so much on not being perceived as being unorthodox, or that we have to brand authenticity and being unorthodox so that way it is then acceptable, that we take so much away from ourselves and deny ourselves in the process from if we were just to allow ourselves to be in whatever flow that is.
Yes, that's truth. Look at you speaking like a true Aquarius.
I'm just saying.
Speaking like a true Aquarius. To that point of you being an Aquarius, let me ask you this question. What would you say is like one core trait that you inherently fall into that's like just very Aquarian of you? What's just one thing?
One thing that most people do not know about most Aquarians is that we're actually really big on hygiene. We're like, we're big on hygiene. So like, and I have a really strong sense of smell. So like, one core trait is being big on like hygiene and like other people's hygiene and like cleanliness of like when I'm going places. It's not like an obsessive compulsive type thing, but I am always very hyper aware of like, is that clean? Did this like I can't help it, right? Like even like this is gonna sound terrible, but like even sometimes I make my husband like brush his teeth in the morning. Like I can't do morning breath. I just can't. But I do the same thing. Also, there's another one that's probably like equally on par. I'm an introvert, but I'm a humanitarian. So you hear a lot of Aquarians say, I don't like people. I don't like peopling within outside of certain hours. My bra has a bedtime, and that bedtime is 9 p.m. If we have not scheduled something by 9 p.m., don't ask me to do shit. I ain't showing up. I'm just telling y'all now. The freedom has occurred. We're not doing all that. But I like building community. I like seeing community come together. I like watching. I love participating in like humanitarian efforts. Like I love community service. And I love intimacy. But like to go out to a club and be the life of a party, that is sensory overload. Like I see people going to all music festivals and
Unless it's for work, it's a no for most Aquarians.
Yeah, and don't walk up to me, I love you. Like, oh, we ain't got that far yet. We ain't got that far yet. We haven't even hit friend zone, fam. Like we so on like acquaintance, like just met you. So yeah, I'm very Aquarian in that regard. Like there are checks and balances of closeness.
Totally feel that.
And I'm kind. I'm a very kind person, but I'm not a nice person. I'm too direct.
That's a Capricorn and Aquarius trait that's common though. I feel like that's why a lot of people don't really, it's like you love us or you hate us. There's really no in between. And I'm fine with it because I'm not about to fake with you.
We know where we stand with each other up front. We know what it is. Like, okay, live and let live.
Period. Okay. I want you to just to speak a little bit, and you can just speak to whatever points you want to. I don't have any specific constructs for this, but I want you to talk a little bit about the effects of astrological transits on the body and something that helped you, something that you found out in your journey of like studying this that helps you to heal yourself.
So to your first point with astrological transits, one of the first ones that I tend to look at is Jupiter. And I say that because a lot of people come to me and they talk about weight gain or hormonal balances and things like that. So hormones more so Venus, but Jupiter plays a large role in that too. Jupiter transits, we typically get more abundance, more of something that comes through, right? But whenever Jupiter transits your 10th house, your 6th house, or your 4th house, especially, that's when you tend to pack on the pound, right? So like during the pandemic, a lot of us were eating good. A lot of us had Jupiter transiting probably one of those 3 houses, right? And so we pack on weight. Now where it's transiting, so like Aries, a lot of Aries tend to be, as they get older, tend to get broader shoulders, right? And so they tend to gain more weight, like in their shoulders, breasts, like the trunk. And they tend to get rounder, like cheeks. If you are an Aquarius, like myself, you probably are going to gain more weight in your lower body, right? If you're a Sagittarius, for whatever reason, and Jupiter is at home in Sag, Sagittarius is ruled by the thighs, right? But they get a lot of what we call centralized obesity. So in your midsection, it's like your abs. Don't know why, but think horse. So I've noticed that when people are having those transits, myself included, you seem to see things that happen very acutely, like, or an acute onset. So like it happens quickly. You're like, wait a minute, all of a sudden I'm gaining weight in this area, or like all of a sudden, right? I'm also noticing that depending on if we're talking about Venus, you may all of a sudden start having issues with like thinning of hair because it deals with hormones, issues with your thyroid, issues with your pituitary gland, issues with some of your sex hormones. Like, believe it or not, serotonin, even though it's a neurotransmitter, plays a large role in your sex drive, especially for those of us who are woman identifying, because we got all these great serotonin receptors around our gut and our uterus. Mm-hmm. So those are some, and to that point, menstruation is a big thing too. So those are some of the things that I noticed when it comes to transits. If I had to go universally, like on an all human level, insomnia, kind of across the board, TMJ, so grinding your teeth and clenching, headaches, weight shifts in weight, right? And a lot of times it's not even just so much like water weight or like fat, it's like the way in which your weight is situated on your body, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Or the way that you carry your weight, I think is a better way to describe it. When it comes to my own personal journey, I have noticed that when things impact my first house is when I tend to have issues the most. So my first house is Sagittarius. And so I've noticed that whenever, and I have a stellium in Sag, you know this, but those that don't. So like whenever something hits my first house, it's big and it's hard and it's fast, but then it typically resolves very quickly. My son is very similar. When I was a kid, I was a strep carrier, so I had a lot of strep throat. But when I went back and looked at my natal chart or looked at the transits for that time period, I can't remember what, but there was a major transit that went through Taurus, and Taurus rules throat. So during that time period, I was constantly with strep throat, and I was also, it was a time where I wasn't doing a lot of speaking. I was doing more writing as a kid. So just some things to note. I find that when people come to me and they're asking me about transits or anything pertaining to medical astrology, they tend to think that it's like a one-shot stop, and they don't understand that it's a whole composite, right? And it's just like, nah, there's layers to this shit. So
it's very layered, and it's also personal, because there are aspects that go into it, and your personal transits are always going to be different than the next person's personal transit. So we can speak all day about what generally would affect the public, but it's going to affect you differently based on where these things are crossing in your chart. So that's very true. It's a lot of love to it. But that was good. Thank you for sharing that. Those key health points that she threw out are good things to kind of be aware of, and then be like, okay, I need to look at my transits and see what's going on.
Or reach out to one of us for a reading.
Or you can do that, you can definitely do that. Both of our links will be in the description of this video.
But yeah.
Okay, so my next question to you is about clairvoyance. I have 2 questions about this. So first of all, I want you to speak about exercising your intuition, because that's a huge part of like coming into your gifts. And I feel like people just think there's like this one formula that you do and then you're psychic, and that's just not how it works. It's not how it works at all. So I want you to talk about that. Go ahead and talk about that first, and then I'll ask my second question.
Sure, and it's a great one. Everybody's intuitive.
Yes.
Everyone has intuition. I'm gonna move my phone very quickly. There we go. Okay. Oh, now you can see I have on a dress. I promise y'all. I am
pretty too.
Thanks. So everyone has intuition. Everyone has a sense of knowing, and this is something that we are all, especially early in life, we trust. implicitly. We just know. We move. We're taught that it's impulsive, but it's you being in touch with yourself, your highest self, in its purest form. And you just trust it and you go and you do it. Right? You watch kids dive off of shit, flip off of a tree from like 5 feet up, and you're like, and they trust their body, they trust their sense of self, they know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we all have that. I personally was born with a veil, and have never not seen the other side. That's just me. But even still, I had to, as you would say, exercise that muscle. There are multiple ways to do this. The way I chose to do it was by reading in volume, meaning I started at a very early age doing this for profit, age 13, 14-ish. And so after school, I would either be babysitting or flipping tarot cards or reading palms or reading somebody. But or scrying, so water scrying, looking in a bowl of water, going deeper, right? So it was constantly putting myself in a situation where I was reading someone other than myself.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty in this is that you grow accustomed to feeling out energies other than your own, while also learning how to stay grounded and rooted within yourself.
Yes.
What I didn't have at that age point was a mentor. So someone to tell me, or to not tell me, but to kind of help guide me into what this looks like over time.
Ooh,
Which is,
talk about it.
right? Which is why Choseneyes now reads primarily remotely. So there's an energetic exchange. I have a very high spiritual sex count, if you will. Essentially, when we read for you all and we're channeling, our souls touch for a moment, whether you realize it or not. Okay? So in some regards, our souls have touched. We've low-key psychically slept together. I hope that you liked it. I probably enjoyed it myself. I think I'm pretty good in psychic bed, but so putting that out there, I didn't have anybody to tell me like, hey, there's this thing known as psychic burnout. Hey, there's this thing that happens where, I knew how to like cleanse and do all those things, right? Because those are things that were taught in my family. But I didn't have, well, I won't say it was officially taught, but there are some things within Black, Southern, and Midwestern culture that just that you just know, right? You don't let nobody touch your hair. My grandmother would always be like, after you talk to them people, you go take a shower and wash the hanks off, right? Like that kind of stuff. But I didn't have anybody to say like, hey, pay attention to how you feel in your body when you're reading for people. Hey, pay attention, that you're getting enough sleep because you're still young, right? I'm a teenager. I'm ripping and running track, doing all the things. It wasn't until I hit my Jesus year, 33, 34, that all that started to catch up, because I was used to being back to back, back to back, back to back. I think one night I did an event and I read over 200 people, right? And I'm going to put this out there. When you read like that, there is an adrenaline rush that hits. Mm-hmm. There is. It can, and it's not so much from a monetary standpoint, but being able to do that and be in that kind of flow, it's seductive. It's like, ooh, because it feels good to be in spirit. It feels good to not have the 3D construct crushing you down. You're surfing the multiverse. You know how freeing that feels? And then you got to slap that back down into, this wonderful vessel that you have. But it gets heavy because what you don't realize at that age, until it catches up to you, is that not only did you swim through the multiverse, but now your soul is packing in the multiverse back into this physical vessel. And I didn't have anybody to teach that to me until one day my son asked me, Mama, what does it feel like after you get done surfing in the multiverse? And I told him like how I was like, well, lately I've been getting really tired and da da da. He goes, I don't feel like that. And I was like, really? Why don't you feel like that? He goes, well, after I surf the multiverse, I go outside and I play in the trees. I'm like, oh, so you ground. Oh, nobody taught me the importance of that, right? I'm thinking I'm grounding by being quiet, being in the meditative state, checking the boxes, right? Nobody's reminding me that you have to go back into a childlike state. Nobody, I tell this story and people think I'm joking. I was 34 before I knew what it felt like to be tired. Like when I would actually be tired, I thought I was sick. I know that sounds crazy, but I was like, wait, that's what tired is? I thought that was like being sick. I would just go until I would, right? But that's just, I've noticed that is something that is not really taught to young spiritually gifted people, right? So that's why I like to focus on working with that demographic, because you go through something known as psychic puberty. Just like your human hormones are raging, your psychic gifts are like, you gotta learn how to rein them in. So I didn't really have that. I think the other thing too is when we talk about the muscular aspect of your spiritual gifts, there is no right or wrong way to be psychic or clairvoyant. There's no cookie cutter mold in this. You have to trust that your intuition will tell you how it wants you to wield it. Because it's something like it's a relationship. It's not, oh, this is my intuition. You don't own this. You don't own it. It could leave at any point. It's not a codependent relationship, but it is definitely a co-working or co-collaborative relationship. So I want to put that out there, because I think so many people feel like they get drunk off of the power of I am this. Like, nah, you got a whole other.
You have to learn how to surrender to your intuition. That's what being psychic really is. Just surrendering to your intuition. Some people will even say that it's surrendering to God, because really divine things begin to happen. But it's really about surrender. The difference between me, Choseneyes, anybody else who chooses to be psychic or who chooses to go down the path of actually walking in their gift, the only difference between us and you is we just were obedient and we surrendered. That's it. That's the only difference. I don't have a choice. Me, I have too many Capricorn placements. I have too many Leo placements. My spirit guides do not play with me. Okay. Period. I do not have a choice. So when I don't surrender to spirit, bad things happen. That may not be the case for you. So a lot of people are able to just walk around and not be here. Your body is here, but you're not here. You're not present. You're the observer, really. You haven't even checked in yet. But it's because you haven't surrendered. And that's exactly what she's talking about. She's talking about surrendering to your intuition and just trusting it. Because that's how you work it. That's how you exercise that muscle. You trust. And then you just keep not necessarily doing things, because there's not one set of things that you do, but you just try different things. Like you experiment with yourself. You do little experiments here and there, like, I feel like I'm gonna see a purple dog today. And then just, if you see a purple dog, write it down. Like,
right. But also,
what was around it?
And what worked in this moment may not work in another moment. There is no like tried and true method, right? And I think that that's important, because that lends to when you're looking for a mentor or someone to work with or someone to help you cultivate your gifts. Don't let expert culture get you fucked up. I'm just gonna say that. There's no one way and no one person, right? Like I'm probably incredibly unorthodox, but there are people who are like me that works for them. Then you have people who prefer the structure, and that's okay, right? The other thing I'm going to tell you is part of surrendering and trusting does not mean that shit is rainbow and Skittles on the other side of that. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to say that because people will be like, I'm going to surrender to the process and it's going to be lilies and unicorns and butterflies And then all of a sudden you talk to them 3 weeks later. Oh my God. I'm like, yeah, welcome to my Tuesday, homie. Welcome to my Tuesday. That was my Tuesday. Okay. So now that we're on Thursday, let me tell you what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? Like the spiritual path is because you're surrendering, you don't have control. You have control of yourself, of your in your physical being, but when it comes to like you have, I don't want to make it seem like, you know, you have no control over what you manifest, because you do, but you cannot micromanage the universe. You can't
manage the universe at all. You cannot. But just to speak to what you were saying about, you know, rainbows and sunshine not being on the other side of that, we live in such a world that has such a distorted view of light and dark, good and evil, masculine, feminine, those dual kind of principles. The reality is we are birthed and created in darkness. The world is a place of darkness. Every day the sun sets and it's dark outside. Darkness is not something for you to try to hurry up and get through because it's bad, it's wrong, it's ugly.
It serves a purpose.
It serves its purpose. So when you go through that surrender and you are pushed into darkness because you're birthing something or you're moving through something, something's being revealed to you, you need to surrender to the darkness. Stop trying to fight and box the darkness all the time and like cling to the light. And there are a lot of people who claim to be balanced and they're like, I embrace the darkness and the light. But then when they speak about darkness, there's this energy of just hurry up and get through it, go through it to get through it. Let me kill it. No, it's never going to die. You have to learn to let it exist. And that's you can't surrender until you do that anyways. So you must maintain that within the surrender.
You gotta make friends with your angels just as much as you have to make friends with your demons. Sometimes your demons will fight harder for you than your angels can in certain terrain. And I've said that to people and they're like, oh, and I'm like, think about it. You gotta have friends in all places, high, low, around the corner, like you cannot always fight something like, I live in the light. That's great. You're not the person I need to go in the trenches with. If you tell me that you only live in the light or that you only live in the dark, like, nah, life is varying shades of gray. So when I say you gotta make friends with your demons just like your angels, I'm not saying go out and, you know, conjure, you know, some like horrible shit. What I'm saying is you can't live in a world where it does not work like that. And you have to know that there are allies there are allyships in the spiritual world that people would view as dark or evil that actually can have your back and can actually like prop you up and defend you in ways that you could never imagine or that could never be done if you're only doing things in the light. Sometimes you need the element of concealment.
Yes. Sometimes you need the element of concealment. Everybody want to do everything for show. Not everything needs to be done in light.
No.
And you don't need to know everything.
No, you don't need to know everything. As much as we want to as humans, we don't. We don't. Had you told my 20-year-old self I would not be a pediatric surgeon right now, like I would have fallen apart. I would have been like, well, why am I even in college? Right? I would have completely derailed myself. So you always have to make space for your future self.
Yes. Okay. So to my second question about clairvoyance, I want you to talk about being clairvoyant and trying to make connections with people, because it's very exhausting. And that's something that I'm struggling with because Spirit is pushing me to collab, to make connections, to make friends, go outside. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Like, I'm tired.
That no in my soul. She's like, no. That was so Capricorn. No.
So just talk about that because it's very exhausting, and I'm trying to not be so, I don't want to call it judgmental because I'm not judging anyone. I don't want you to change your energy based on my feelings about it. but I just don't want to be around certain energies because it's triggering for me and it's not conducive to what I'm trying to do, right? So just talk a little bit about that, because I'm in the struggle and I know I'm not the only one.
I stay in that struggle. I come from a family that struggles with that. Like,
Oh
we're
Lord.
about like the three of us are personable, right? And even like my mom and my dad, like none of us are really like peopling people, but people love us. But what the first thing that I did was I gave myself space to be like, it's okay that I'm not a people person like that. Like, I stopped feeling guilty about the fact that I got parameters around like how I people. And when you are a person who is truly connected to yourself and to source in that way, you can't just be around other people. Even when it comes to business moves that I make, like I'm all about collaborating and building community, but you got one time to show me who you are and I'm gonna trust you. And that's cool. I just know where our line is, right? So the other thing I would say to that is trust that there's a reason why you are needing to be that way. And trust when you were in those situations, trust a snake to be a snake. Trust a bird to be a bird. Take them where they are in that moment without judgment, without resentment, right? And then move on. Like, you don't have to have, I know this sounds very Aquarian. It's okay to detach. We are taught that like in a society right now where we're all connected through social media and everybody's friends on social media, and we throw that word around. Everybody's connected. Everyone's plugged in. Think about that spell. You see, we're casting that spell that we're friends because we share social media pictures, right? We're like, you gotta be real about what is really happening. Do I know this person's last name? Do I know where this person lives? I've known people for decades who have never seen the inside of my dwelling, and that's okay. I don't hate them.
We just don't, it's not like that. But see, you
So
said something in there. You said you have to be okay detaching. That's my problem. I'm so detached. Like I've become so, I think I'm too detached at this point, but maybe not. But I feel like I'm so detached. Like I don't wanna.
so then you know what? So then you ask yourselves, in what ways are you okay with it, right? So like, I'm okay with peopling and having to plug in moments like this,
Yeah,
right?
me too.
I'm good with intimacy. I'm good with, like, if we're going to sit down and we're going to have a genuine conversation in a meeting of the minds, maybe we agree, maybe we disagree, or we meet. Cool. I'm good with that. If we're going to sit down, and it's not so much that we have to have an agenda, but it's like, if we're coming together and
Perfect intention.
there's intention, cool. We can sit here and watch Netflix all day, not speak to each other, just, pass popcorn back and forth, but just be comfortable in each other's presence, because we both just need to be fine with that. But if you want to sit in here and have mindless chatter and all this jaw jerking and all this like posturing and intellectual circle jerk type shit, I don't have time for that. So I give myself space to say, okay, one, it's okay, I'm not a peopling person. Fine. I'm 40. Fuck it. Whatever. But here are the ways that I do want to plug in and be around people. I love to travel. So there's certain people I know I can travel with, right? I love learning about new cultures and like being immersed in culture. So like that's another space like where I don't mind talking to people. Like when I was in France for my 40th this year, I got to go to Nice, which I gotta tell you off a sidebar on that, because that was a crazy, crazy spiritual experience, but great. Um, but it forced me to have to practice my French, which I was terrified of at first, but I was translating for a friend, so fuck up. But that was an instance where I didn't mind speaking to other people because I'm curious. So if it satiates my curiosity, okay, cool, why not? So I would say, taking it off me, for those who are watching, ask yourselves, on what ways do you feel it's healthy for you to plug in and engage with other people? When do
And
you feel?
to do that, I like that because I make myself feel guilty for
No,
not. to indulge in the other things. But I really don't have to. I just need to show up where I feel like showing up.
Show up where you feel like showing up, because then it's actually authentic.
Yes.
Then you're being your full self. And then you can then imagine if you showing up as your fullest self in a situation that feels good, that actually is nurturing you. Imagine what you're going to receive. I've noticed in a year of doing that and like really living in that, the opportunities that have come my way, the connections, aspects of my personality that have been mirrored back to me in really beautiful ways, just in ways that you would never think of. Like I highly encourage everybody to stop guilting yourself into thinking you have to show up in a way because this is what somebody is telling you. It's like, who made these rules?
Nobody.
And usually the rules that we're living by, the people who made those rules ain't living by them rules.
That's a fact. That is a fact. I don't know why I do that to myself, but I find myself doing, it's not like I guilt myself into it so bad that I make myself do it when I don't want to, because I've literally just been so detached. And you're right, I've gotten so much more opportunities. My abundance has increased. I've been so much more peaceful and less stressed. And I'm just like, I don't know why I feel like I need to just reattach
You know why?
myself to those
Because
things.
you're Capricorn. Because you're a Capricorn. And I don't say that joking, like to be mean. Y'all are known for being like networkers, movers, shakers, always plugged in, always in the know, like the people behind, like, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress around that people don't realize. Being the point person, being the pillar. Capricorn is known as being the pillar, being the standard. You know how much pressure that is?
I don't want to be nobody's standard. I ain't got time for it, baby. My Scorpio rising and Leo moon will not stand for that. Y'all better leave me the hell alone. I ain't got time. I will be your standard of beauty if you want to look at me all day. That's about all I can do for you. That's about it.
Listen, and my Sag Stellium is just gonna look at you and be like, nah. That's all I got. That's my dissertation. Nah.
The Leo in me, look, you can worship me. I'll be your standard of goddesshood. I'm not gonna do nothing. But like, I'm just, what are you gonna do? Just look at me all day? Because that's what we gonna do. Like what? Yeah. So, but you're right about that, because a lot of the reason why I feel the need to plug myself into places that I don't necessarily care to plug myself into is usually because I'm trying to learn something, or I'm trying to make a connection that I normally wouldn't make, or something like that. So in those instances, sometimes maybe I should just go outside of my comfort zone, but for the most part, it does feel inauthentic to me. And that's why I don't want to do it, because I don't want to show up inauthentically at all. I just don't.
You know what? And so I hope this tool helps. There's a difference between feeling inauthentic and feeling uncomfortable.
There is. I said outside of my comfort zone, but that's really, it's outside of my authenticity.
So if it's outside of your authenticity, nah, don't do it. If it's outside of your comfort zone and you just feel scared, or you just feeling a little apprehensive, and it's not because you like for a lack of safety or something like that, lean into that, because that's growth. But if it's a lack of authenticity, and you know, like, this is just not in alignment with who I am, fuck what people think. Because at the end of the day, the thing that you walk away from will be the thing that propels you toward the thing that you're supposed to go smack dab into. Woo! I'm a living testament to that. I am a living testament to that. I have walked away from some serious money because I'm like, that is just not who I am, and have been thrust into some situations that have been far more rewarding and just as lucrative. But here's the deal. People don't believe it because they didn't see it, because it's not on full blast. But some of the biggest blessings in your life, and the biggest moments in your life, will be the shit that nobody ever sees but you. And and from a spiritual standpoint, not so much for you, but for everybody else who's listening, you got to be okay with that if you're going to walk a spiritual path. Because there's going to be so many beautiful moments and so many big aha moments and so many moments where like you and spirit are just flowing. and nobody else will see it.
That is so true. I don't really think about that like on a conscious level because I am okay with it, but it's true because earlier on in my spiritual journey, like when I was in my teens and I was like doing this work and going through these things and having these beautiful, profound revelations and moments that felt like great accomplishments to me, it's like nobody was paying attention, nobody was around, nobody knew anything. I was just, but you could see it in me and my glow, but if it just was like there's no validation, there's no recognition. So that goes back to what we started with, which is you're the only person that's going to be able to give that to yourself. And every time you try to fight that, you're going to disable yourself or push yourself back in some way. And you have to remember that you can only save you. You are your savior. The Christ is in you, okay? The Buddha is in you, okay? It's all up here in your head. That's another reason why I think I'm going to start actively teaching energetic principles in the other order, because once you realize that everything comes down, the world begins to just make a lot more sense. And I want us to stop fighting so hard to start from the bottom up. Starting from the bottom up and the survival of the fittest was a principle that was created out of chaos, out of confusion, out of scarcity, out of fear. It was never how we were supposed to live. It's never how the world was supposed to be governed. Yes, we live in this patriarchal society where we are brainwashed to think we have to live like that. But as long as you're in alignment with the laws of nature, your life will reflect what it needs to reflect. And that's just law, like, period.
Let's think about it like this. And then I know we're almost at time. But like, think about what happens when we get closer to not even the solstices. When you get closer to the equinoxes, what happens to your body? Don't you feel the need to like get up with the sun a little bit later in the day? You may even naturally innately wake up a few like an hour or so prior to sunrise, right? If take your alarm clock off, you don't have to go to work or anything, just right. You innately will wake up when you're supposed to. You'll also feel the need to kind of go to bed and power down, right? But what happened was during the Industrial Revolution, we were taught that you had to be on an 8-hour workday. And if you're Black, brown, or indigenous, your people were taught that you literally worked before sunrise and after sunset. So genetically speaking, everybody's circadian rhythm is fucked up. Yes. But imagine if we actually went back and just like during the pandemic, right? What happened? Nature reset itself. All of us were getting better sleep. All of us were feeling a little less achy in our joints and shit. Wow, we're actually drinking water. Oh my goodness, there's dolphins in the Venetian Canal. Venice has dolphins.
They go outside.
LA didn't have smog. And this is just the first 2 weeks of being at home. Think about the reset, the powerful reset that was. And then what happened as soon as they opened everything back up?
Humans humaning.
So my point is, to your point, is that we innately know from a natural standpoint what we need to be doing. We eat a certain way when it's hot. We eat a certain way when it's colder outside. We want to sleep longer during certain times of the year and less. But what does not change, what's static, are the rules that everybody keeps buying into. And the only thing that I can say is the people who made those rules ain't living by the rules that they made.
At all.
So we've given power to something that was never meant to empower us.
Woo! It's so exhausting. It's so exhausting, but it's so refreshing just to talk to people who get it, who can see it for what it is. I don't want to be plugged into that system at all. Like, I don't feel it's for me. Some people are comfortable not being present in their lives and checking out and like leaning into distraction. That's never been my path. And if you're on a spiritual journey, likely that's not your path, because you're being pulled into something bigger, into something deeper, so you can see things for what they are. So I like what you just said right there, because it just gave me a revelation. And that revelation is when you begin to see things for what they are and you stop buying into them. Don't ever let society convince you to do it just so you can get by, or just so you can fit in, or just so you can have that relationship, or just so you can do whatever the thing may be. You surrender to that knowledge, because that's what it is. It's knowledge for your evolution. Even if it's inner knowing, it's still knowledge for your evolution. And as long as you sit in that and you let that drive you, even if negative things are happening around you, you will be able to better navigate them and grow through them, versus becoming a victim, essentially a victim of circumstance, a victim of situation, of things that you have no control over. And I feel like that's a huge part of how we give away our power every day. And I want to encourage you guys to stop doing that in any way that you can. Reel that power back in. Empower yourself. This is why I have pivoted into the Empowered by 11 brand, because I want you guys to immerse yourselves in empowerment. We all deserve to be empowered. And a big part of your empowerment comes from clarity. And this whole realization and revelation, it brings clarity to things that we argue back and forth about in our heads every day. And it's really insanity is what it is. It's crazy.
No, I agree. And like, I don't like using the word negative or positive anymore, if I can avoid it.
That's why I put it in quotes, because I'm
lately I've been using less desirable. Like, yes, there's some things that are less desirable in life, but usually even in those moments, like the tone that 11 Moons and I use with you all when we're reading for you is probably less desirable. Some people may even call it negative. But at times, even the less desirable things in life are necessary. Because sometimes you need that thing that's going to snatch you up like your grandmama used to and shake you around for a second and be like, yeah, and start talking to you like through your teeth. Sometimes you need those life moments, right? And it sucks and it hurts in that moment. Your feelings get hurt, right? But if you really lean into it and you can get past how you feel about it, don't get me wrong, feelings are important. Yes, an Aquarian just said your feelings are important. I know.
They are.
But you can't live in the feeling. You got to be able to say, okay, this is how I feel about it. But how can I actually use this as a tool moving forward? Or is there a tool or a gem in this moment, right? Okay. If you are not a person who can get to that point, then your spiritual journey is probably in its infancy.
And you need help. And you need to go talk to
someone. Okay.
Yes.
That's okay. But it's okay. But once you get to a point where you can say, okay, where's the lesson in this? Now we're getting someplace.
Mm-hmm. And so many have to start having breakthroughs. This was so beautiful. Thank you so much. I have one final question for you, and then I am going to pull a postcard from Spirit so we can end on that. My last question is, do you feel that shadow integration plays a huge role in success? If so, why? If not, why not?
Yeah, you gotta make peace and friends with your demons just as much as you do with your angels, right? You have to be able to accept all aspects of yourself, because at some point they all, not only are they a part of you, but at some point they will all benefit you, but they can all hinder you, right? Mm-hmm. So think about when we talk about femininity and the way that we're socialized. We're taught that you always have to be of service, be smiling and happy and pretty and all those things, right? And those things are lovely. Who doesn't want to be found attractive? Who doesn't want to look nice? Who doesn't want to help people in some way, shape, or form for those that they care about? What happens is that then you become complacent, brainwashed, taken advantage of, vulnerable, right? Conceited, maybe. Maybe you only find one dimensional because then you're so fixated on serving everybody else. What about you?
Right.
Right? So that can be a less desirable or darker shadow side that's masquerading as being part of the light.
Right.
Like what I did there. But you have to. If you're not willing to see all facets of yourself, then you're not willing to see yourself. You can't just look at the pretty parts of the picture. You gotta look at all aspects of it. Right. And once you start actually being able to say, you know what, I'm not a nice person, but I am kind, then you can lead into the kindness. Then you can speak up and advocate for yourself and say, you know what, that's not how I communicate, or like, this is not fulfilling my needs, but here's how we can meet in the middle. Then you can start being more diplomatic. Then you can have real conversations with people as opposed to having your representative and or mask talking to their representative and or mask. You can then understand when you're actually speaking and you're talking to a mask and being like, oh yeah, no, we right. Then there's a different conversation that's happening at that point. If there's a conversation and a different level of trust. So I think that there's no way for you to really truly live in self and even talk about healing your own trauma or doing trauma work if you're not willing to do that type of eat. And it takes a minute. I'm gonna tell y'all now, stop thinking that you're gonna go on TikTok and see these videos with cord cutting ceremonies and then you burn some and then you flush the ashes and then you're done. No. That work never ends because you evolve. So
You evolve, your shadows evolve, and there will always be something else to heal, to work on, and to transform. And so long as you have breath in your body, that will exist, and you need to just accept it, lean into it, and work with it. And sometimes you're going to need help, and you reach out for help. Sometimes you can do it on your own. You do it on your own. Sometimes you're going to need just the God alone, and you need to pray, and that's what you need to do. Okay, whatever gets you through, just know you are not going to be able to show up as a whole human in life at all without doing shadow integration. And I started saying shadow integration as opposed to shadow work because I feel like people just preach this whole thing of like getting rid of the shadow and lessening your shadow. And I always bring up the movie Us and how I feel like that movie is about shadow work. And that's why the shadows came up and killed them, because they thought they could just leave down there and suppress them and just feed them nothing and everything would be fine. You're basically killing yourself by doing that, because those aspects are of you. Like she said, being understanding that you're not a nice person, but you're kind. I'm not a nice person. I don't go out of my way to do nice things for people. I am a kind person. If you need me and I love you and care about you, I will show up for you. But I'm not going to make myself uncomfortable to do what you want me to do. That's just not my personality. I will never be that person. I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable. I'm being authentic to myself. Would you rather me be fake and just do all the things, even though I really don't want to, and then throw it up in your face later on? No, you would not like that. And I am a Leo moon. I guarantee you that I will, if you piss me off and don't do something that I want you to do, and I made myself uncomfortable helping you out. So that's why I'm not going to do it. I don't want to be that person.
No, and then last point on this, and then I know we gotta go, but I feel like you always meet new demons within yourself. You will always meet a new, and I know I use the word demon, but you will always meet a new shadow.
Yeah.
You will always meet a new shadow version of yourself. I don't care who you are, how much work you've done, who you pray to, who you meditate with, like you will always meet a new shadow aspect of yourself and be like, oh snap. And sometimes your light aspects turn into shadows as you evolve.
Yeah.
Put that out there too.
toxic. It's toxic for you to do, like, some people will say that they're working in the light, but they're doing things that are just not authentic. Every time that you do something that's not authentic to you, it puts you into a dark position, essentially. And that's not even to say that the darkness is bad. It's just you're doing the opposite of what you think you're doing. So that means that the intention is the opposite and the effect is going to be the opposite of exactly what you want. We don't have time for that. Well, we could just be straight up, you know. So I feel you 100%. I'm so glad that I reached out to you last minute to do this today. At first, I was gonna save your interview to like closer to the end of the year because I don't know, I thought I wanted to do it like going into like Scorpio season for some reason. But something was just like, no, I want to do it today. Let's hit her up, see if she's available to.
I am
So,
so honored that you thought of me. Like,
of
it's a
course,
lot.
think of you. Of course, I always think of you when I think of Black psychics, especially in Austin. Um, you're like a staple. What do you mean? Of course, I'm going to think of you. Um,
I appreciate it. I take myself seriously, but I don't, you know me, I don't.
you're an Aquarius. You guys are like whatever. Just here having my experience. You know, great.
Sharing it with everybody else.
What it is.
Welcome to my side of the multiverse. That's how I feel. Like, sure, you want to strap onto this asteroid? Let's fly together. Let's do it. Come on.
Listen, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna read y'all your postcard from Spirit. Get you some Aquarius friends in this age of Aquarius, okay? Because one thing that an Aquarius will do, they will be honest and direct with you. They are gonna make you laugh because they are hilarious. And they will teach you just to be yourself and not give a fuck about what anybody thinks about it. Because most Aquarians are great people, but a lot of people think that they're shitty because they're not nice. And it's just like, you can think I'm shitty out here. I don't care. I will continue being a great person. Great things will continue to happen in my life and you'll be miserable. Period. And they literally,
we don't waste our time. We do not waste our time with anybody or anything that does not, it's not even about being self-serving. If energetically it's not in alignment, we're not about to waste our time because we know that we're brilliant and we don't need to waste our brilliance with someone who can't see in 2020 or 20,000, you know, like it's cool. It's cool.
I love that.
But if we are for you, we will ride hard in the paint for you.
Hard. And every time they get on, they will pull you up every single time. I'm telling you, get you some Aquarius friends in this age of Aquarius. In the past 3 years, I've accumulated me some Aquarius connections, and baby, I love it here. Okay, I love it here. I'm telling you,
because we loyal.
Friends. I'm a Capricorn, so maybe I get them on a different level. But if you're a water sign, I'm telling you, move outside of your comfort zone. Get you some Aquarian friends in your life. You need it. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for all these wonderful, insightful answers. I feel like a lot of us don't have the mentorship that we need starting out. A lot of us don't have elders to look to. And so it's always so beautiful when we can just pick up these insights in platforms and situations like this. This is your postcard from Spirit, and it's right on par with everything that I just said about Aquarius, which is so funny.
What you talking about?
It says, dearest you, miracles never run out. Look back over your life and you will see so many moments of synchronicity when all the right people, the right place, the right opportunities, and the right time just showed up without any of your help. Think back to how you felt just before a miracle happened. You felt you were giving up, but it was more like a gentle surrender to whatever was about to happen. We want you to know that miracles are being concocted for you, and you will never, ever run out of them. You just don't get to choose how they come, who will deliver them, when they will show up, or what they will do for you. All of that is our department. Spirit knows what is best for you and what wants to be expressed through you. You are incredible and amazing and a magnet for miracles. That would be a great mantra for you today. We are on it. Relax. If you only knew how much you were loved. Oh, that was this.
Look, my Venus in Pisces tearing up.
Yes. I believe that miracles are happening right now for majority of Aquarians, but for you specifically and just turning 40 and hitting that milestone, y'all, most of us, our life is not really going to start until our late 30s and 40s anyway. Like your life starts, but it doesn't really start and begin like it to feel concrete. So
You don't believe your life is yours until you've hit your mid-30s.
yes. So it's just like hitting that milestone, I'm sure like a lot of things have begun to shift for you, and miracles probably are happening essentially every week, if not every day, every month. And I just affirm that and I love that for you. Can you
Thank you.
tell
I received that.
people, can you tell the people one more time where to find you? Um, and if you have anything that you're working on that they should be looking out for, you can also mention that.
Sure. So choseneyes.com. You can always check me out on things there. I have a Patreon platform where literally whatever I feel like sharing with y'all, which is a lot. Educational videos, my random journeys and thoughts through life, random conversations and rants, even some candid moments with me and my family. Put it on there. All my travels and everything go on there. That's you can find that in my link tree on my Instagram, or a link to that should also be on my Patreon. Let's see, Choseneyes #9 on almost every platform except for Facebook, which is just Choseneyes all together. And then what else? I've been doing a lot of writing in my solitude, so be on the lookout in the fall for my blog to be up and running again. And I don't know, I'm always doing some shit. So just look out.
Just look out, subscribe, follow all the things so that you can get notified when all of these things come up. This has been another session of Enlightened Investments, and I hope to see you guys back here next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.